Ang init. Parang impyerno. At parang impyerno rin ang mukha ng Bombay na kaharap ko ngayon, si Mang Rakesh, na kulang na lang ay sungay at buntot para kumpleto na ang costume niya bilang demonyong maniningil ng utang. Ella, naman. Last warning na to, ha? Nasaan na ang bayad mo sa pwesto? Pati yung utang mo sakin, 3 linggo nang delayed. His voice, parang kulog sa lakas, resonating through the humid morning air of Divisoria. Napapalunok ako ng laway, in a way that felt as dry as the cracked pavement beneath Evade Sinelas. Mang Rakesh, pasensya na po talaga, I stammered, ginvy hands clutching the hem of the oversized, kupas na t-shirt. Konti na lang po, promise. Medyo matumal lang po talaga this past few weeks. Ilby's voice was barely a whisper, swallowed beside the cacophony of vendors shouting their wares, the jeepneys blaring their horns, and the general chaos ng palenque. He scoffed, his thick mustache twitching. Matumal? O sadyang magaling ka lang umarte, Ella? Alam mo, yang mga lip balm mo, baka mas mabenta pa kung gawin mong pangkulay ng sapatos. He guffared, at may ilang chismosa sa tabi na nakisabay sa tawa. Elb's cheeks burned. Pahiya. Sobrang pahiya. It felt like 1,000 tiny needles pricking Devi's skin. Hindi po, Mang Rakesh, I insisted, trying to sound firmer, pero nanginginig pa rin ang boses ko. Maganda po tong produkto ko. Organic po to, gawa sa mga natural na sangkap. Gawa sa puso't hirap. I gestured to my humble stall, a small, collapsible table draped with a faded floral cloth. On it, meticulously arranged, were handmade lip balms in small, recycled pots. Ella's Healing Kiss Lip Balm po, all natural, moisturizing. Bili na po kayo, suki. I tried to project the voice, but it was drowned out by the sheer volume of the market. Mang Rakesh wasn't impressed. Puso't hirap. Ang puso't hirap, hindi yan pambayad ng utang, ineng. Pera ang kailangan ko. Pera. He slammed his hefty hand on a table, making these carefully arranged lip balms rattle. Isa pang linggo, Ella. Kung wala pa rin, yang table mo, yang mga paninda mo, pati ikaw, palalayasin ko dito. Entiendes? In my heart sank. Another week. Paano? Saan ako kukuha ng pambayad? The Izare 500 weekly rent for this teeny spot felt like ₱1,000,000. Tapos yung utang ko pa sa kanya na 3,000 na may tubo pang nakakalula. I was already skipping meals, walking miles instead of taking the jeepney just to save a few pesos. Ang bunso kong kapatid, si Maya, nag-aaral pa. She was in my main motivation, Bilyonaryo. Kailangan kong kumayod. Oo po, Mang Rakesh. Sisikapin ko po, I managed to say, GBIS cast down. Defeated. He grunted and turned to leave, but not before delivering a parting shot. Siguraduhin mo lang. Dahil baka sa susunod, hindi lang pwesto mo ang mawawala sa'yo. The threat hung heavy in the air, more suffocating than the city smog. Naiwan akong tulala. The other vendors, after Mang Rakesh left, started whispering amongst themselves. Naririnig ko sila. Kawawa naman si Ella. Hay, yang si Rakesh talaga, walang patawad. Kasi naman, bakit pa kasi nangutang? Baka di na yan makabayad. Tignan mo nga yung paninda, iilan lang. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them to mind their own business. Pero ano nang magagawa ko? They were right. In my little business, by Ella's Healing Kiss wasn't exactly flying off the shelves. Maybe my lip balms weren't good enough. Maybe it wasn't good enough. Dubbed, cold and sharp, clawed at the insides. Pinunasan ko ang namumuong luha sa gilid ng mata ko. Hindi. Hindi ako pwedeng sumuko. Para kay Maya. Para sa pangarap kong makaahon kami sa hirap. I took deep breath, trying to channel the courage didn't feel. Lip balm po. Organic, all natural. Perfect para sa dry lips nyo. Gawa sa beeswax, shea butter, at virgin coconut oil. Halika na, bili na kayo. A few curious onlookers stopped youth. Isang ale ang kumuha ng tester. Magkano to, ineng? ₱50 lang po, Al. Subukan niyo po, napakaganda sa labi. She swiped some on her lips, then pursed them. It said, ayos naman. Malambot nga. She bought one. In my heart did a little flip. Yes. Isang benta. That was limampu closer to my goal. The day were on, hotter and more humid. Nakabenta pa ako ng 3. 200. Not bad, pero kulang na kulang pa rin. The sun was beginning its descent, painting the air in hues of orange and purple, but my mood was dull, unrelenting gray. Nagliligpit na yung ibang tindera. I was about to start packing up the major display too, feeling the familiar itch of disappointment, when a shadow fell over the table. Akala ko si Mang Rakesh na naman. My stomach clenched. Pero pag-angat ko ng tingin, it wasn't him. It was a man I'd never seen before. He looked out of place. Naka-polo shirt siya na mukhang mamahalin, slacks, at leather shoes na kumikinang kahit sa alikabok ng Divisoria. He was tall, with neatly combed hair, and kind eyes that seemed to be studying the lip balms intently. Miss, are these all for sale? He asked, his voice calm and surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to Mang Rakesh's booming threats. Oo po, sir. Lahat po yan. Handmade po, organic, I replied, a bit flustered given his sudden appearance and his expensive aura. Parang naligaw lang siya dito. He picked up one pot, a light pink shade called Rosy Dawn, and examined it. What are the ingredients? Beeswax po, sir, shea butter, virgin coconut oil, tapos natural food grade coloring lang po, and a hint of peppermint essential oil para refreshing. I recited the well-practiced spiel. He nodded slowly. How much for one? ₱50 po, sir. He then looked at all the remaining pots on a table. Siguro mga 20 pa. And how much if I buy everything? Natigilan ako. Everything? Pipo. Lahat po, sir. I must have measured. Siguro he meant one of each color. Yes, everything, he confirmed, his gaze steady. My mind raced. 20 pots at ₱50 each, that's ₱1,000. Oh my God. This could be it. Makakabayad na ako kay Mang Rakesh for the stall rental, at may konti pang matitira. Sage po, sir. ₱1,000 po lahat. I tried to keep the desperation out of every voice, but my hands were already shaking with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a wallet. And my eyes widened slightly. It was leather and it looked full. He took out 2 crisp ₱1,000 bills. 2,000. I'll take them all, he said, placing the 2 bills on the table. And that's for your trouble. Napanganga ako. Literally. His jaw dropped. Sir. 2,000 po. Pero 1,000 lang po lahat. He smiled, a small, almost imperceptible smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. Consider it a bonus. For your hard work. Tears pricked in my eyes again, but this time, they were tears of overwhelming relief and gratitude. Sir, salamat po. Sobrang salamat po talaga. Hindi niyo po alam kung gaano kalaking tulong to. I quickly gathered all the lip balms, carefully placing them in the paper bag he had saved. Sure po ba kayo, sir? Baka po di. I'm sure, he said, his voice gentle but firm. He took the bag from me, his fingers briefly brushing mine. A strange, small jolt, parang kuryente, shot up the arm. I pulled my hand back as if I'd been burned, my cheeks flushing. Ano yun? Static siguro. Sa sobrang stress ko. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and it wasn't a look of pity. It was something else. Something I couldn't quite decipher. You know, he said softly, didn't just buy these for the product. Napakunot ang noo ko. Po. He gestured towards the now empty space on his table where my lip balms used to be. I bought them because of the passion of the person who made them. Ang galing ng gumawa. My breath hitched. Ang galing ng gumawa. No one had ever said that to me before. Not about my lip balms, not about anything I'd ever done. Most people just saw a desperate girl trying to make a quick buck. But he saw something more. Before I could find the voice to thank him again, or ask who he was, or why he was being so incredibly kind, he gave a small nod. Keep up the good work, miss. He then turned and walked away, disappearing into the throng of people as quickly as he had appeared. Naiwan akong nakatayo doon, hawak-hawak ang 2,000 piso, give my heart pounding like drum. The noise of Divisoria seemed to fade into the background. Ang init kanina, parang biglang lumamig. The despair that had clung to me like a second skin all day was suddenly replaced with a fragile, flickering flame of hope. And a whole lot of questions. Sino siya? Bakit niya ginawa iyon? Anghel ba siya na pinadala ng langit? O baka naman may hidden agenda? If my mind was a whirlwind. I looked down at the money in my hand. It was real. This wasn't a dream. Hoy, Ella. Anyari sa'yo? Nakatulala ka dyan? It was Aling Nena, the vendor from the next stall, who sold cheap plastic toys. I shook my head, trying to clear it. Wala po, Aling Nena. May bumili lang po ng lahat ng paninda ko. Her eyes widened. Lahat? Hala, swerte mo naman. Sino? Yung poging nakapolo kanina? Nakita pala niya. Oo po, I mumbled, still dazed. Ay, te. Baka type ka nun, she teased, wiggling her eyebrows. I blushed. Hindi naman po siguro, Aling Nena. Baka naawa lang. Though his words, ang galing ng gumawa, echoed in my mind, contradicting the thought. I quickly packed my empty table, the 2,000 pesos securely tucked into my bra for safekeeping. Utak ko, di ma-process ang nangyari. This was too good to be true. But as I started my long walk home, a small, almost forgotten feeling began to bloom in my chest. Intrigue. And a teeny spark of something that felt dangerously like hope. Sino ka, yung mysterious stranger? At bakit parang pakiramdam ko, this isn't the last time I'll be thinking about you. Kinabukasan, parang panaginip pa rin ang lahat. The 2,000 pesos felt heavy in my small, tattered coin purse, na ngayon ay pansamantalang naging wallet. First thing in the morning, I went straight to Mang Rakesh. Medyo mayabang pa ang dating niya, pero nung inabot ko ang 1,000 pesos, one for the stall rental and one as partial payment for the utang, medyo lumambot ang mukha. Oh, ayan na pala, Ella. Akala ko tatakbuhan mo na ako he said, his voice a little less like thunder this time. Pero kulang pa to, ha? Yung balance, next week, siguraduhin mo. Opo, Mang Rakesh. Sisikapin ko po, I replied, feeling a small victory. At least, may nabawas na sa bigat ng dibdib ko. The remaining 1,000 pesos, I set aside for Maya's school needs and some groceries. Konti lang, pero at least, may bigas kami for a few days. Pagbalik ko sa pwesto ko sa Divisoria, dala-dala ko ulit yung natitirang mga sangkap ko for lip balm. I had to make new batch. Kahit naubos kahapon, hindi pwedeng umasa na may darating na anghel ulit. Kailangan kong kumayod. While I was mixing a fresh batch of sunset coral, using annatto seeds for color, a familiar shadow fell over my small table. In my heart skipped a beat. Siya na naman? It was him. A mysterious stranger from yesterday. He was wearing another crisp polo shirt, this time a light blue one, and dark pants. He looked even more out of place in the Divisoria chows today, in the full light of morning. Good morning, miss. He paused, a slight smile on his face. Ella po. Ella Madrigal, I supplied, the voice a little breathless. Bakit ba ako kinakabahan? Ella, he repeated, as if testing the name on his tongue. I'm Jefford. Jefford Jeff de Villa. Jefford. So he had a name. A name that sounded as polished as his shoes. Good morning po, Sir Jefford, I managed, wiping a hands on piece of cloth. Pasensya na po, wala pa po akong bagong gawa. Mamayang hapon pa po siguro. Akala ko bibili ulit siya. He chuckled softly. It's alright, Ella. I'm not here to buy today. Ah, ganun po ba? So, ano nang kailangan niya? My mind raced. Baka naman may reklamo siya sa lip balm. Hala! Baka nagka-allergy siya. Actually, he continued, I was wondering if you're free for lunch. Lunch? And my eyes widened. Ako? Makikipag-lunch sa kanya? Pipo. Lunch po. Yes. There's something I'd like to discuss with you. A proposal of sorts. A proposal. My mind immediately went to Mang Rakesh and his threats. Was this man somehow connected to him? Was this a trap? Pero yung kabaitan niya kahapon, it felt genuine. Proposal po. Tungkol saan po, Sir Jefford? I asked, trying to keep the voice even, pero may kaba pa rin. It's better if we talk about it over a meal. In the treat, of course, he said, his smile reassuring. There's a place nearby. It's quiet, and we can talk properly there. Nearby turned out to be a short taxi ride, he insisted on paying, away from the grimy streets of Divisoria. Huminto kami sa harap ng isang building na mukhang mamahalin. The sign read, Alba Restaurante Español. This was Joe nearly dropped. Spanish restaurant. Dito. Ang alam ko lang Spanish-named food ay Spanish bread sa panaderia. Sir Jefford, sigurado po kayo dito. I whispered as he held the glass door open for me. The interior was even more intimidating. Dim lighting, plush velvet chairs, tables draped in white linen, and waiters in smart black and white uniforms. Ang layo sa ambience ng Divisoria. Parang napadpad ako sa ibang mundo. I suddenly felt very conscious of Esoy faded jeans, the worn-out shirt, and invite cinelas. Everyone else looked so elegant. Yes, Ella. Don't worry, he said, sensing the unease. He spoke to the maitre in fluent Spanish, another shocker, and we were led to a quiet table in the corner. The staff were polite, but I could feel their eyes on me. Subtle glances, quickly averted when I looked their way. Para akong specimen sa ilalim ng microscope. Sino tong kasama ni Sir Jefford? Bakit parang ordinaryo lang? I could almost hear their thoughts. Relax, Ella, Jefford said gently once we were seated. Order whatever you like. The menu itself was challenge. Puro Spanish terms na hindi ko maintindihan. Paella, gambas al agilio calos. Para akong nagbabasa ng alien language. He must have seen the panic in his eyes because he smiled. Let me recommend something. How about the Pella Valenciana? It's good for sharing. And maybe some croquetas de jamon to start. Sage po, sir. Kayo po ang bahala, I mumbled, grateful for his intervention. Para akong bata na nawawala. While we waited for the food, he started. So, Ella, about the proposal. He leaned forward slightly. I own this restaurant. Nanlaki ang mata ko. Siya. May-ari nito. This fancy, expensive-looking restaurant. Kaya pala parang ang gaan ng utos niya sa mga staff kanina. And I have a small space, the kiosk really, near the entrance. It's been empty for a while. I was thinking you could use it to sell your lip balms. Natulala ako. A free space. In a place like this. Pipo. Seryoso po kayo, Sir Jefford. Very serious, he affirmed. No rent. Just focus on making and selling your products. I believe in them, Ella. And I believe in you. His words from yesterday echoed in my mind, ang galing ng gumawa. Pero bakit po, sir? Hindi niyo naman po ako kilala. Bakit po ako? The question tumbled out before I could stop it. It was too good to be true. There had to be a catch. He was quiet for a moment, his gaze thoughtful. The waiter arrived with our croquetas, golden and crispy. Jeffrey gestured for me to try one. It melted in my mouth, creamy and savory. Heaven. Let's just say, Jeffrey began slowly, after taking a bite of his own croquette. I know what it's like to struggle. Dati rin akong walang-wala, Ella. I started with nothing. And my eyes widened. Siya. Na mukhang pinanganak na mayaman? Walang-wala. Ang hirap i-imagine. This restaurant, he continued, gesturing around, this wasn't handed to me on a silver platter. I worked hard for this. Very hard. And I had help along the way from people who believed in me when no one else did. He looked at me, his eyes sincere. I see that same fire in you, Ella. That passion. And your lip balms, they're good. Really good. With the right exposure, I think they could be a big hit. Pag-asa. Hope. It bloomed in the chest, warm and bright, pushing away the shadows of doubt. If chance. If real chance. Hindi na sa kalsada, hindi na takot kay Mang Rakesh. Sir Jeffrey, hindi ko po alam ang sasabihin ko, I stammered, overwhelmed. Tears pricked in my eyes. Sobrang laking tulong po nito. The pella arrived, tea vibrant pan of saffron-colored rice, seafood, and chicken. It smelled divine. As we ate, Jeffrey explained more details. The kiosk was small, but it was in a high-traffic area near the entrance. He even offered to help with some basic display materials. All I ask is that you continue to make your products with the same quality and passion, he said. And maybe, if things go well, we can talk about a more formal partnership in the future. Habang kumakain kami, I couldn't help but notice the staff again. They were discreet, but I could still feel their curious gazes. One waitress, while refilling our water glasses, lingered for a fraction of a second too long, her eyes flickering between Jeffrey and me. Bakit special siya kay sir? I could almost hear the unspoken question. Jeffrey, however, seemed oblivious, or perhaps simply used to it. He treated them with respect, quiet authority in his voice. Later, as Jeffrey was discussing something with the restaurant manager who approached our table, he had to step away for a moment to take a call. Naiwan akong mag-isa. I saw him then, through a partially open door leading to what looked like the kitchen. He wasn't wearing an apron, but he was talking animatedly with chef in a tall white hat, pointing at his dish, his expression intense, focused. For a moment, the sophisticated restaurateur vanished, replaced by someone deeply involved in the very heart of the place, the food. He even rolled up the sleeves of his polo shirt, revealing strong forearms. Parang ang natural niya doon. Ang gwapo niya, lalo na pag seryoso. Ay, ano ba tong iniisip ko? When he returned, he was smiling. Sorry about that. So, Ella, what do you say? Are you in? My mind was still reeling. This was a lifeline. More than a lifeline. This was a dream I didn't even dare to dream. Pero may takot pa rin. What if I failed? What if I disappointed him? Sir Jeffrey, I began, choosing the words carefully. Sobrang laki po ng opportunity na to, pero sigurado po ba kayo? Baka po magsisi kayo. He met my gaze, his own unwavering. As don't make decisions I'll regret, Ella. I have a good feeling about this. About you. That look, that quiet confidence in me, it was more persuasive than any promise of profit. I took deep breath. Oo po, Sir Jeffrey. Tinatanggap ko po. Gagawin ko po ang lahat ng makakaya ko. A wide smile spread across his face, reaching his eyes. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. The rest of the lunch was a blur of delicious food and exciting possibilities. He talked about potential customers, the restaurant patrons, people working in nearby offices. He even suggested I could expand a product line eventually. Soaps, lotions, all handmade and organic. My head was spinning. When it was time to leave, he walked me to the entrance. You can start setting up tomorrow, if you like. I'll have the kiosk cleaned and ready for you. Salamat po ulit, Sir Jeffrey. Sobrang salamat po. I felt like crying but held it in. Ayokong magmukhang iyakin sa harap niya. Just Jeff is fine, Ella, he said with a warm smile. See you tomorrow. As I rode the jeepney back home, a much lighter, more hopeful journey this time, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Jeff. Ang lalaki sa loob ng kusina. Ang lalaking nagbigay sa akin ng pag-asa. He was an enigma, a puzzle I couldn't quite figure out. Mayaman, pero may sinabi siyang idati rin akong walang-wala. He owned a fancy restaurant but seemed comfortable enough to step into Divisoria. He was kind, generous, but there was also an astute businessman beneath the gentle demeanor. Bakit ako? Di mo nga ako kilala. The question still lingered. But overriding the confusion was a powerful wave of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the break I'd been praying for. And maybe, just maybe, Jeffrey Davila wasn't just a mysterious stranger anymore. He was becoming something more. A benefactor. A mentor. Or maybe, just maybe, he was simply a good man who saw something in a desperate girl selling lip balms in a crowded market. Whatever his reasons, I was grateful. And I was determined not to let him down. Bukas, sisimulan ko ang bagong chapter ng buhay ko. At sana, maging maganda ang kalabasan nito. True to his word, the kiosk near the entrance of Alba Restaurant Español was ready for me the next day. Malinis, may maliit na counter, at may espasyo para sa mga produkto ko. It wasn't Divisoria, that's for sure. The air smelled of expensive perfume and good food, not dust and exhaust fumes. For the first few days, I felt like fish out of water. Naninibago. The customers were different too, professionals in smart office attire, ladies who lunched, and occasional tourists. Pero anti-anti, I found Eva footing. In my Ella's Healing Kiss lip balms, now displayed neatly in small woven baskets, a suggestion from Jeff, who even helped me source them, started to attract attention. Siguro dahil sa all-natural and handmade aspect. At siguro dahil na rin sa ngiti ko na abot tenga. How could I not smile? This was a dream come true. Wow, these are lovely. Are they locally made? A lady in a stylish dress asked one afternoon, picking up a strawberry bliss lip balm. Yes, ma'am. Ako po mismo ang gumagawa. All natural ingredients po, perfect for our weather, I replied, with confidence growing with each sale. Sarap ng lip balm. Ang ganda ng effect, hindi sticky, another customer, a regular at the restaurant, commented few days later. Alam mo, Ineng, pwede pang export to. Ang galing ng quality. Export. In my heart did a little flutter. That was a big word. But the compliment fueled the passion even more. I started experimenting with new scents and tints, using local ingredients like the landan and calamansi for its citrusy twist. Sales were picking up. Hindi na ako namomroblema sa pambayad kay Mang Rakesh, nabayaran ko na ng buo ang utang ko, finally, at nakakapagpadala na ako ng sapat na pera kay Maya for her school projects and baon without her having to scheme. Nakakabili na rin ako ng mas masustansyang pagkain. Parang himala. Jeff, he insisted, call him Jeff, would often stop busy at the kiosk during his breaks. Minsan, may dala siyang kape para sa akin, or a small pastry from the restaurant kitchen. We'd chat for a few minutes, him asking how sales were, me excitedly telling him about new customer or the positive feedback. You're doing great, Ella, he'd say, his eyes crinkling at the corners when he smiled. I knew you would. And every time he said that, your warm, fuzzy feeling would spread through me. Kilig. Simple, pero yun yung epekto niya sa akin. One afternoon, he found me struggling with a sketchpad. Ano yan? He asked, leaning over the counter. Nag-iisip po ako ng logo, Jeff, I said, a bit embarrassed with crude drawings. Para mas mukhang professional yung brand. He picked up the sketchpad, studying easy attempts. Lisa, how about something that incorporates a lip print? Or maybe a local flower, like isampagita? He then took the pencil from in my hand, his fingers brushing mine again. That familiar jolt. Hi Ella, umayos ka nga. Static lang yan. He started sketching, his strokes surprisingly deft and artistic. Within minutes, he had the simple yet elegant design, stylized pair of lips forming the petals of a delicate flower. Wow, I breathed. Ang ganda, Jeff. Ang galing mo. He chuckled. Just a suggestion. The final decision is still yours, of course. It's your brand. My brand. It sounded so real. So official. Thank you, Jeff. Sobrang thank you. Our conversations weren't always about business. Minsan, he'd tell me funny anecdotes about the restaurant, or ask about Maya. I learned that he loved to cook, which explained his presence in the kitchen that one time, that he was surprisingly down to earth despite his obvious wealth, and that he had soft spot for underdogs. Why are you so kind to me, Jeff? I asked him one day, the question that had been nagging me since the beginning finally spilling out. You barely know me. He looked at me, his expression serious for a moment. Because see potential, Ella. And because everyone deserves chance. Someone gave me one when needed it most. There was a story there, I could tell. A story he wasn't ready to share yet. And it didn't push. The staff at Alba, at first, were a bit wary of me. I'd catch the curious stares, the whispers when they thought I wasn't looking. Bakit kaya paborito ni Sir Jeff yan? Ano kayang meron dyan? Pero as days turned into weeks, and they saw me working hard, always polite, always grateful, their attitude slowly changed. Some would even stop beside to buy lip balms for themselves or as gifts. Naging friendly na rin sila. Hi Ella. Ganda ng sales natin today, ha? One of the waitresses, Sarah, would say with a smile. Why, Ella, patikim ka niyang bago mong flavor, another one, Mark, from the kitchen staff, would tease. I felt like he was finally starting to belong. But the biggest gulat moment was yet to come. It happened on a busy Saturday afternoon. The kiosk was doing well, I had a steady stream of customers. I was in the middle of explaining the benefits of Isvai, minty fresh, lip balm to an interested lady when I saw a familiar, dreaded figure approaching from the street. Si Mang Rakesh. In my blood ran cold. Anong ginagawa niya dito? Sinusundan niya ba ako? Ilvy's first instinct was to hide, to pretend I didn't see him. Baka maniningil na naman kahit bayad na ako. Old fears die hard. He spotted me and his eyes widened. He looked around at the fancy restaurant, then back at the well-stocked kiosk, a look of disbelief on his face. He started to walk towards me, scowl forming on his lips. Oh no, here we go. Baka mag-eskandalo pa siya dito. Nakakahiya kay Jeff. But before Mang Rakesh could reach his kiosk, Jeff stepped out of the restaurant. He had seen Mang Rakesh approaching. Rakesh, Jeff said, his voice calm but firm. There was no Mang T before the name. Parang magkakilala sila. Mang Rakesh stopped in his tracks. The scowl on his face vanished, replaced by an expression couldn't quite read. Parang gulat at takot. Sir D. Mang Rakesh stammered, his usual bluster gone. Sir Jefford. Kayo po pala? His jaw dropped. Kilala niya si Jeff. At Sir Jefford D ang tawag niya. Jeff just looked at him, his expression unreadable. What are you doing here, Rakesh? Napadaan lang po, Sir Jefford, Mang Rakesh said, his eyes darting nervously between Jeff and me. Hindi ko po alam na nandito po si Ella. Jeff's gaze hardened. Is there a problem? Oh, wala po. Wala po, Sir Jefford. Mang Rakesh said quickly, almost too quickly. He then looked at me, a strange mix of confusion and dawning realization on his face. Ikaw pala yon ni. He mumbled, more to himself than to anyone. Yung tinutulungan niya. My mind was racing. Ano nang ibig sabihin ni Mang Rakesh? Tinutulungan niya? Sino? Jeff then said something that made the world tilt on its axis. Walang may utang sa kin, Rakesh. Or sa kahit kanino na inuutusan ko. He looked directly at me, then back at the Bombay. Basta umahon ka, he told me softly, but with an underlying intensity. Then, to Rakesh, you can go now. Mang Rakesh didn't need to be told twice. He practically stumbled backwards, muttering hasty Sajpo, Sir Jefford, and then scurried away, disappearing down the street as fast as his legs could carry him. I stood there, stunned. If the customer had already left, probably weirded out beside the sudden drama. Jeff turned to me, his expression softening. Are you okay, Ella? Jeff, I stammered, did I mind trying to process what just happened? Anong ibig sabihin noon? Kilala mo si Mang Rakesh? At anong inuutusan? The pieces were starting to click into place, forming the picture, wasn't sure alike. Yung pagbili niya ng lahat ng paninda ko dati. Yung bigla ang kabaitan ni Mang Rakesh noon ang nagbayad ako. He sighed, running key hand through his hair. He looked conflicted. Ella, we need to talk. Can you close up for a bit? Let's go inside. My heart was pounding. Takot. Gulat. Kilig. Hindi ko na alam. All I knew was that Jeffrey de Villa had more secrets than initially thought. And Mang Rakesh, the Bombay feared, was somehow connected to him in a way never imagined. Ikaw pala yon ni. Mang Rakesh had said, looking at Jeff. Then, looking at me, yung tinutulungan niya. If Mang Rakesh wasn't the one Jeff was referring to when he said, dati rin akong walang-wala, then who was he? And more importantly, what was his real connection to the man who had terrorized my days in Divisoria? The phrase, walang may utang sa kin, resonated with new, chilling meaning. Did Jeffrey pay off his debt to Mang Rakesh? Or worse, was Mang Rakesh working for Jeffrey all along? The thought made me feel a strange mix of relief and dawning, unsettling suspicion. Jeff was leading me towards a quiet office at the back of the restaurant. My legs felt like lead. Jeff, anong nangyayari? I asked, the voice barely a whisper. He closed the door behind us. The usual confident, easygoing aura around him was gone. He looked troubled. Ella, he began, Mang Rakesh he works for NB family. Or rather, he handles collections. Small-time loans, mostly in the markets. My breath caught in my throat. Pamilya mo? So, he was from a wealthy family. A very wealthy one, apparently, if they had people like Mang Rakesh working for them. Yes, he admitted. A family they own a lot of businesses. Lending is one of them, though it's not something I'm proud of, or involved in anymore. Anymore? He nodded. I was supposed to take over that side of the business. That was the plan. But hated it. I saw what it did to people. The pressure, the fear. He looked at me, his eyes filled with an emotion I couldn't quite name. Regret? That's a lie I left. I wanted to build something of his own, something positive. Like this restaurant. So, dati rin akong walang-wala didn't mean financially. It meant he was without the path he wanted. He was lost. So, yung pagbili mo ng lip balm ko sa Divisoria. Yung pag-aalok mo ng pwesto dito alam mo na yung tungkol sa utang ko kay Mang Rakesh. The question hung in the air. He looked down, then met my gaze. Yes, Ella. I knew. Rakesh reported to me, or rather, to the office he used to manage. Your name came up. I small, persistent debt, a struggling vendor. Lila mind reeled. So, he knew all along. He knew about denied desperation, yun by fear. So, nung binili mo lahat ng paninda ko, it wasn't just because you liked the lip balms. The kilig felt earlier was slowly being replaced by cold not of something else. Disappointment? Or was it the feeling of being managed? Did like your lip balms, Ella. Very much, he insisted, stepping closer. And I saw your passion. That was real. But yes, I also saw an opportunity to intervene. To help you in a way that wouldn't involve the usual collections process. So, you helped me orchestrating things. The words tasted bitter. Si Mang Rekesh, alam niya na tutulungan mo ako. Not exactly, Jeff said, his voice low. He only knew that I was interested in your case. That I told him to ease up. The offer for the kiosk, that was entirely separate. That was because genuinely believe in your product, Ella. And in you. Basta umahon ka. His words from earlier. Was that genuine wish, or a directive because it was now under his patronage? Didn't know what to feel. Grateful for the help, yes. But also too little manipulated. Parang yung chance na binigay niya, may strings pala. Strings connected to his past, his family, and to a man deeply feared. That gulat was real. And that kilig. It was now tinged with a heavy dose of kaba and confusion. Who exactly was Jeffrey de Villa? And what did he truly want from me? The silence in Jeff's office was thick, heavy enough to choke on his confession, or part of it, anyway, hung in the air between us. Si Mang Rekesh, tauhan ng pamilya niya. He knew about denied debt. He intervened. In my mind was chaotic mess of emotions, gratitude, confusion, and a rising tide of something that felt suspiciously like betrayal. So, lahat ng to, I gestured vaguely around the office, encompassing the kiosk, the help, everything, parte ba to ng pagtulong ng pamilya mo sa mga nangangailangan. Ilduvi's voice was sharper than intended, laced with a sarcasm didn't know it possessed. Jeff flinched. No, Ella. This restaurant, this offer to you, this is mine. This is separate from Isley family's usual business practices. I wanted to help you, yes, but on their own terms. In a way that felt right. Right? Anong right sa paglilihim, Jeff? I challenged, a lump forming in my throat. You made me believe na nakita mo lang ako sa Divisoria, na na-impress ka sa lip balm ko. Na iyon lang yun. Pero may iba pa pala. May background check na palang naganap. It wasn't his background check, Ella, he said, his voice pleading. Rekesh mentioned your situation. I remembered your stall. I saw your determination. I genuinely wanted to give you a better platform. Pero bakit hindi mo sinabi agad? Expressed, the hurt starting to bubble over. Bakit kailangang ilihim? Dahil ba akala mo hindi ko tatanggapin ang tulong mo kung nalaman kong konektado ka kay Mang Rekesh? He ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated. Honestly? Yes, partly. I was afraid you'd misunderstand. That you'd think he was just another rich guy trying to. Don't know, is his conscience EY throwing money at's problem. And what am I supposed to think now? I shot back, Jib's voice rising. Na special case ako. Na charity project mo ako. The words stung, even as I said them. Because deep down, the part of me had felt special. Special because he, Jeffrey de Villa, had noticed me, believed in me. Now, that feeling was curdling into something ugly. No. That's not it at all, Ella, he insisted, taking a step towards me. I instinctively took a step back. Then what is it, Jeff? As demanded, tears stinging to the eyes. Kasi ang hirap paniwalaan na coincidence lang lahat. Si Mang Rekesh, biglang naging mabait. Tapos ikaw, biglang dumating na parang superhero. It all feels orchestrated. A tense silence followed. He looked at me, his eyes filled with turmoil that mirrored his own. Then, he sighed, deep, weary sound. Okay, he said softly. Okay, you deserve the whole truth. My heart pounded. The whole truth. May kasunod pa? Mang Rekesh, Jeff began, His voice barely above a whisper. Hindi lang siya basta naniningil para sa pamilya ko. Minsan-minsan, inuutusan ko siya. In my blood ran cold. Inuutusan? Para saan? To observe people. People who are struggling, people with potential but are facing difficult circumstances. People elevate family's usual business model might crush. He looked away, shame flickering across his face. It was the way of trying to find a different approach. Before I left the family business entirely, I tried to change things from within. To identify those who deserved a real chance, not just another loan with crippling interest. I stared at him, speechless. So, Mang Rakesh wasn't just a collector. He was also Jeff's scout. His informant. So yung pananakot niya sa akin sa Divisoria? I asked, Jeff's voice trembling. Yung mga banta niya? Parte ba yun ng observation mo? The thought was horrifying. Jeff looked pained. No. Hindi yun. Rakesh has his own methods, some of which I strongly disagree with. His harshness with you, that was him being him. What I asked him to do was simply to keep an eye on you, to let me know if your situation became dire. Didn't tell him to harass you, Ella. I swear. But how could I believe him? The lines were becoming so blurred. And when he told you about me? He told me you were hardworking, resilient, but close to breaking point with the debt. He mentioned your lip balms, how you made them yourself. That's when I decided to see for myself. So, yung pag-appear mo sa Divisoria, yung pagbili mo ng lahat ng paninda ko, that was a test. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Pagsubok lang pala lahat. Para makita kung anong gagawin ko. Kung paano ako mag-react. He didn't deny it, he couldn't. His silence was answer enough. Oh, is by God, I whispered, you wave of nausea washing over me. All this time, I thought it was serendipity, a miracle. Pero it was a calculated move. I'll test. Ella, it wasn't meant to be cruel, he said, his voice desperate. Gusto kong makita kung lalaban ka. Kung gaano katibay ang loob mo. Because the kind of help I wanted to offer, it required someone with grit. Someone who wouldn't give up easily. Lalaban? Yung voice cracked. Jeff, araw-araw akong lumalaban. Para kay Maya, para sa amin. Hindi ko kailangan ng test mo para patunayan yun. Tears were streaming down Zoe's face now, hot and angry. Akala ko nakita mo yung halaga ko, yung produkto ko. Yun pala, part lang ako ng social experiment mo. It's not an experiment, he insisted, his own frustration evident. Yes, I wanted to see your strength, but also genuinely admired your product and your spirit from the moment I saw you. The offer for the kiosk, Diva wanting to help you build your brand, that's all real, Ella. That has nothing to do with any test. How can I believe that now? I choked out. Everything feels like a lie. Yung ang galing ng gumawa, kasama ba yun sa script? The hurt in his eyes was palpable. That was from the heart, Ella. That was me, seeing you, seeing your passion. But the trust, a fragile seedling that had just begun to sprout, was now crushed. All that killing moments, the shared smiles, his encouraging words, they all felt tainted, viewed through this new, harsh lens of deceit. Para akong naging laruan. Isang karakter sa isang storya na siya ang nagsulat. I can't do this, I said, Jib's voice flat, devoid of emotion. The anger had burned out, leaving behind cold, atching emptiness. Lungkot. Sobrang lungkot. Ella, please, he begged. Don't say that. We can work through this. I messed up by not telling you sooner. I admit that. But in my intentions they were good. Good intentions. I gave a humorless laugh. Jeff, you had a man who terrified me essentially easily on me. You tested me. You manipulated the circumstances. Saang parte dyan ang good? I walked towards the door. I appreciate the opportunity you gave me, Jeff. For the kiosk. It helped me a lot. Alba's voice was trembling, but I forced myself to continue. Pero hindi ko kayang magtrabaho sa lugar na alam kong nagsimula sa kasinungalingan. Sa isang pagsubok. Ella, don't, he said, his voice cracking. He reached out to touch Sv's arm, but pulled away. I'm leaving, I said, Gina's decision firm. Ibabalik ko yung kiosk. Magtitinda na lang ulit ako sa daan. At least doon, alam kong totoo ang lahat. Walang hidden agenda. Walang test. The pain on his face was undeniable. But my own pain, my own sense of betrayal, was too strong. Yinvai self-respect, wouldn't let me stay. I went back to my kiosk, my hands shaking as I started to pack the lip balms. And my little sign, Ella's healing kiss, which Jeff had helped me design, seemed to mock me. Healing kiss? More like kiss of deception. With a surge of anger and hurt, I carefully took the sign down. Dinukot ko yung mga paninda ko, nilagay sa mga lumang paper bag. Sarah, the waitress, passed Jiffy. Ella, anong nangyayari? Ba't ka nagliligpit? She asked, concern in her voice. I couldn't meet her eyes. Aalis na ako, Sarah. Ha? Bakit? May problema ba kayo ni Sir Jeff? I just shook my head, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. I could feel the eyes of the other staff on me. The whispers would start again, but this time, didn't care. Jeff followed me out to the kiosk area, his face pale. Ella, please, pag-usapan natin to, don't make a hasty decision. Hasty? I looked at him, my eyes blazing. Jeff, you've been keeping this secret for weeks. Ako ba ang hasty? I finished packing. The kiosk, once a symbol of hope and new beginnings, now looked bare and sad. Just like how I felt. I'll find a way to pay you back for the time you used the space, I said stiffly, avoiding his gaze. I don't want your money, Ella, he exclaimed, his voice raw. I want you to stay. I want to help you succeed. For real this time. No more secrets. But how could I trust him again? The foundation of our whatever it was, friendship, partnership, had crumbled. Picked up my bags, heavy with Svi lip balms and shattered dreams. Goodbye, Jeff. I walked away, leaving him standing there, looking lost and heartbroken. Each step felt like walking on broken glass. But kept going. I had to give pride, give amor proprio, demanded it. As I stepped out of the air-conditioned coolness of Alba Restaurant Español and back into the familiar heat and noise of the city street, wave of desolation washed over me. Back to square one. Or maybe even worse, because now I had a taste of what could have been. A few days later, I was back in Divisoria. Not in this very old spot, Mang Rakesh probably wouldn't allow it, or worse, Jeff might find me too easily. I found a small, unoccupied patch of sidewalk a bit further away, under the scorching sun. Dala ko ulit yung maliit kong collapsible table. Lip balm po. Organic. Ella's healing kiss. I called out, Jimbo's voice lacking its usual cheer. Some of Esai old Suki found me. Uy, Ella. Akala namin di ka nababalik dito. Nasaan na si Ate Lip Balm? The young girl asked her mother, pointing at me. Bumili tayo ulit, Mommy. Masarap yung strawberry niya. Their familiar faces, their genuine appreciation for the lip product, it was a small comfort. But it couldn't fill the void Jeff's deception had left. That gulat had turned into galit, and now, profound lungkot. I was back where I started, but felt more lost than ever. The secret of the Bombay had cost me more than just the kiosk. It had cost me the trust, and a budding hope for something more. The days back in Divisoria were a blur of heat, dust, and ignawing atch in the chest. Ang hirap. Mas mahirap pa kaysa dati, kasi ngayon, alam ko na kung ano yung pakiramdam na may umaalalay, na may naniniwala sa iyo. Yung alaala ni Jeff, Yung ngiti niya, yung mga usapan namin tungkol sa pangarap ko, they haunted me. I tried to push them away, to focus on selling, on surviving. Pero parang multo, pabalik-balik. Yun sales weren't bad. If the old Suki were loyal, and word got around that 8 lip balm was back. Pero iba na. The joy used to feel with every sale was muted, overshadowed by the memory of Jeff's betrayal and the loss of what felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Gabi-gabi, pag-uwi ko, pagod ang katawan pero mas pagod ang puso. Si Maya, napapansin niya. Ate, okay ka lang ba? She asked one evening, her small hand on the arm. Parang ang lungkot mo lagi. I forced a smile. Okay lang ako, bunso. Pagod lang si ate sa trabaho. But knew she didn't fully believe me. About 2 weeks after left Alba, I was arranging the lip balms on the makeshift table, trying to shield them from the harsh midday sun with tattered umbrella, when a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. My heart leaped into my throat. Si Jeff. He looked different. His usually crisp polo shirt was slightly rumpled, his hair wasn't as perfectly combed, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Parang ilang araw siyang hindi natulog ng maayos. He looked as miserable as it felt. He stopped a few feet away from Inva's stall, his eyes searching mine. The usual Divisoria noise, the shouts of vendors, the jeepney horns, the chatter of the crowd, seemed to fade away. It was just him and me, surrounded by a sea of strangers. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air crackled with unspoken emotions, hurt, regret, longing. Then, he did something that shocked me and everyone else around us. He walked slowly towards my humble stall and then he knelt. Right there, on the dusty, grimy pavement of Divisoria, Jeffrey de Villa, owner of the fancy Alba Restaurant Español, knelt before me. Ella, he said, his voice hoarse, laced with raw emotion. Patawarin mo ako. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. The chismis level just went up to maximum. Nakakahiya, pero mas nangingibabaw yung gulat ko. Jeff, anong ginagawa mo? I whispered, with cheeks burning. Tumayo ka dyan, nakakahiya sa mga tao. Hindi ako tatayo hanggat hindi mo ako pinapatawad, he insisted, his gaze unwavering, fixed on mine. Alam kong nasaktan kita. Alam kong nagkamali ako. Sobra. I was a fool for not being honest with you from the start. I was scared, Ella. Scared of messing things up, scared of you rejecting the help, scared of admitting how much I already cared. Admitting how much I already cared. My heart skipped a beat. Jeff G. I began, but my voice faltered. The sight of him, so proud and yet so humbled, kneeling before me in the middle of this chaotic market, it was overwhelming. The anger I had clung to for days started to crack, to crumble. Didn't mean to make you feel like a project, or a test, he continued, his voice thick with sincerity. I asked Rakesh to keep an eye on you, because it was already drawn to you, to your strength, even from afar. When I saw you that first day, so fierce and determined despite everything, I knew. I knew you were special. Yung pagbili ko ng lahat ng paninda mo, it wasn't just to test you. It was an excuse. An excuse to talk to you, to get to know you. Tears welled up in his eyes. Pagsisisi. It was written all over his face. And in his eyes, I saw not deception, but deep, profound regret. The kiosk, the help with your brand, none of that was about easing the conscience, or fulfilling some family obligation, Ella, he said, his voice earnest. It was because I believe in you. I believe in Ella's healing kiss. And I believe in us working together, building something amazing. He paused, taking a shaky breath. Kahit saan ka magpunta, susundan kita, Ella. Kung dito mo gustong magtinda, dito ako. Kung kailangan kong magbuhat ng mga paninda mo araw-araw, gagawin ko. Just please, give me another chance. Give us another chance. The crowd around us was silent now, watching the drama unfold. Some were probably filming it on their phones. Pero wala na akong pakialam. All I could see was Jeff, his eyes pleading, his heart laid bare for me and all of Divisoria to see. In my own heart ached. The hurt was still there, though throb, but it was now mixed with powerful surge of pag-ibig. Was this love? This messy, complicated, overwhelming feeling. Jeff, tumayo ka na dyan, I said softly, deeply voice thick with unshed tears. He looked up at me, hope flickering in his eyes. Papatawarin mo na ba ako? I took deep breath. Mahirap yung ginawa mo, Jeff. Sobrang sakit. Akala ko totoo lahat from the start. It was real, Ella, he insisted. If may feelings for you, di my admiration for your talent lahat, yun totoo. Nagkamali lang ako sa paraan. I was trying to protect you, in my own stupid way, from Isway family's world, from the kind of person you used to be associated with. But in doing so, I ended up hurting you. And for that, I am so sorry. The sincerity in his voice, the raw vulnerability in his eyes, it was undeniable. He wasn't a calculating businessman now, or the secretive benefactor. He was just Jeff, a man who had made a mistake and was desperately trying to make amends. Slowly, we nodded. Pinapatawad na kita, Jeff. A collective sigh, or maybe it was an oh, rippled through the crowd. Jeff's face lit up, relief washing over his features. He started to get up, but reached out to my hand. Pero, I added, the voice gaining a bit more strength. May kondisyon. He paused, looking at me expectantly. Gusto kong marating ang taas, Jeff, I said, meeting his gaze. Gusto kong lumaki ang Ella's healing kiss. Gusto kong makilala yung produkto ko dahil sa galing nito, hindi dahil sa koneksyon o dahil sa awa. Pero gusto ko kasama ka. Bilang partner. Totoong partner. Walang lihiman. Walang shortcuts. Walang tests. A slow smile spread across his face. Anything, Ella. Anything you want. Partners. Equal partners. Is promise. No more secrets. He finally stood up, a bit wobbly, and without thinking, I reached out and steadied him. Our hands touched. This time, the jolt was stronger, more profound. It wasn't just static. It was connection. He didn't let go of his hand. Instead, his fingers intertwined with mine. Right there, amidst the hustle and bustle of Divisoria, surrounded by curious onlookers, Jeffrey de Villa held in a hand. And it felt right. So, he said, his thumb gently stroking the back of his hand, sending shivers down his spine. Back to Alba. I hesitated. Hindi ko alam, Jeff. Yung mga staff doon baka kung ano na ang isipin nila. Let them think what they want, he said firmly. What matters is us. What matters is your brand. You deserve proper place, Ella. It's a place where your products can truly shine. And Alba needs you. I need you. I need you. Those 3 words echoed in thy heart, soothing the remaining traces of hurt. Just then, another figure pushed through the crowd. Si Mang Rakesh. NB eyes widened slightly. Anong ginagawa niya dito? He approached us, looking sheepish. Sir Jeff. Ella D. He began, his voice unusually subdued. He was holding a small, slightly crumpled paper bag, pasensya na sa abala. Pinapabigay po ni Sir Jeffrey, Ella. Para daw sa bagong simula. Jeff looked surprised. Rakesh. What is this? Mang Rakesh opened the bag and pulled out a small, beautifully crafted wooden signature. On it, elegantly carved, were the words, Ligaya Lips Give Ella. Below it, in smaller letters, handmade with love ampersand honesty. His boy jaw dropped. Ligaya Lips. Jeff looked at the sign, then at me, soft smile playing on his lips. Ligaya. Happiness. Because that's what your lip balms bring, Ella. And that's what you deserve. He then looked at Rakesh. This was your idea. Mang Rakesh shuffled his feet. Opo, sir. Naisip ko lang po na kailangan ng bagong pangalan. Para wala nang masamang alaala. At pasensya na rin po talaga, Ella, sa mga nagawa ko dati. Hindi ko alam na napag-ibig pala ang balak ni Sir Jeff. He winked, and for the first time, I saw a hint of a genuine, non-threatening smile on his face. I couldn't help but laugh, a light, relieved sound. Even Jeff chuckled. The tension was finally truly broken. Ligaya lips, I tested the name. It felt perfect. A new beginning. Jeff squeezed my hand. So, dear Ligaya lips, shall we go discuss your new flagship store at Alba? And my eyes widened. Flagship store? He grinned. Even not. Go big or go home, right? And this time, we do it together. As true partners. I looked at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, at the hope and love shining there. In my heart swelled. This was it, this was real. Tara, I said, Jivavi voice filled with renewed hope and a whole lot of love. Let's go home, partner. He pulled me gently closer, and for a moment, I thought he was going to kiss me, right there in front of everyone. In my heart hammered against the ribs. Instead, he just smiled, his dazzling, breathtaking smile that was all for me. Let's go build your empire, Ella Madrigal. And as we walk away, hand in hand, leaving Divisoria behind us once more, I knew that this time, it wasn't just about survival. It was about love, forgiveness, and a future brighter than I could have ever imagined. Ang pagsisisi ay napalitan na ng pag-ibig at pag-asa. 1 year later. Ang bilis ng panahon. Parang kailan lang, nagtatago pa ako kay Mang Rakesh sa Divisoria, nanginginig sa takot na baka hindi makabayad ng utang. Ngayon, nakatayo ako sa harap ng isang crowd, hindi bilang isang hamak na tindera ng lip balm, kundi bilang si Ella Madrigal, founder and SE of Ligaya Lips. The flagship store of Ligaya Lips, located in a prime spot in a bustling mall, much bigger, grander space than the kiosk at Alba, was officially opening today. The store was beautiful, all soft pastels, natural wood accents, and displays filled with our growing line of organic lip care products, lip balms in dozens of flavors and tints, lip scrubs, lip masks, even tinted lip oils. All proudly handmade, all carrying the Ligaya Lips promise of love ampersand honesty. Ang halaga ng isang babae, hindi nasusukat sa kinang ng kanyang alahas o sa dami ng kanyang pera, I said into the microphone, the voice surprisingly steady despite the butterflies doing fiesta in the stomach. I looked out at the crowd, media people, bloggers, business partners, loyal customers, and of course, Jeff, standing near the front, his eyes shining with pride. Si Maya, nasa tabi niya, beaming, holding a bouquet of sunflowers almost as big as her. Ang tunay na halaga ng isang babae ay nasusukat sa kanyang tapang. Sa tapang niyang harapin ang bawat pagsubok, sa tapang niyang bumangon mula sa bawat pagkadapa, at sa tapang niyang abutin ang kanyang mga pangarap, gaano man ito kataas. A warm applause filled the air. I smiled, in my heart swelling. Ang Ligaya Lips ay hindi lang basta produkto. Ito ay kwento ng pag-asa, ng pagsisikap, at ng paniniwala na kahit sa pinakamadilim na sitwasyon, may liwanag na naghihintay. Ito ay para sa bawat babaeng lumalaban, nangangarap at nagmamahal. As paused, yung gaze finding Jeff's. At para sa mga taong naniwala sa atin, kahit noong tayo pa lang ang naniniwala sa sarili natin. The launch was a huge success. Our products were flying off the shelves. We were already distributing Ligaya Lips products across Luzon, with plans to expand to Visayas and Mindanao soon. We even had inquiries from international distributors. It was overwhelming in the best possible way. Jeff, true to his word, was Eve's partner in every sense. He handled the business side, the expansion, the logistics, the financials, while I focused on product development and maintaining the heart and soul of Ligaya Lips. We were a team. A powerful one. Later that evening, after the last guest had left, and the store was quiet, Jeff pulled me aside. The staff were busy cleaning up, but for a moment, it felt like it was just the two of us again. "You were amazing up there, Ella," he said, his voice soft, his eyes filled with so much love it made my knees weak. "Hindi ko to magagawa kung wala ka, Jeff," I whispered, leaning Evie's head against his shoulder. "Salamat sa lahat." He chuckled. "We did this together, partner." He then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box. In my heart skipped a beat. "Hindi kaya?" "Ella Madrigal," he began, his voice a little shaky, "you are the strongest, most passionate, and most inspiring woman I've ever known. You turned your struggles into strength, your pain into purpose. You taught me what true partnership means, what true love feels like." He opened the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of satin, was a simple but elegant diamond ring. It wasn't ostentatious, but it sparkled with pure, clear light, much like the hope he had brought into my life. "Jeff D." Tears welled up in his eyes. This was really happening. He took his hand. "This is your real product, Ella, in my heart. Will you marry me?" Hindi na ako nagpatumpik-tumpik pa. "Yes. Yes, Jeff, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring onto Invay's finger. It fit perfectly. He then pulled me into his arms and kissed me, deep, passionate kiss that spoke of promises kept, dreams fulfilled, and a love that had weathered storms and emerged stronger. The applause that erupted was from our staff, who had apparently stopped cleaning to watch the proposal. Si Maya, humahagulgol na sa tuwa, while Sarah and Mark were giving Jeff a thumbs up. Our wedding, a few months later, wasn't a grand, lavish affair. We opted for a simple, intimate ceremony in a garden, surrounded by our closest friends, family, and the Ligaya Lips team who had become our second family. Si Maya ang flower girl ko, looking adorable in her little dress, crying tears of joy as she walked down the aisle. Si Mang Rakesh, surprisingly, was there too, invited give Jeff, looking dapper in barong and even shedding a tear or two during our vows. He had become a sort of reluctant, rough uncle figure to us, occasionally dropping by the store with business insights that were actually quite helpful. Jeff looked incredibly handsome in his suit, his eyes never leaving mine as I walked towards him. "You look beautiful, Rest de Villa," he whispered as I reached him, his voice thick with emotion. "Not bad yourself, Dim Madrigal de Villa," I teased back, and he laughed. Our vows were simple, heartfelt, and very us. "Jeff," I began, Jib's voice trembling slightly, "you found me when I was lost, you believed in me when I couldn't even believe in myself. You showed me that love isn't about grand gestures, but about quiet support, unwavering faith, and a whole lot of patience." I smiled through my tears. "You are my partner, my best friend, my greatest love. Ikaw ang ligaya ng buhay ko." When it was his turn, he took both my hands. "Ella, you are everything. You came into my life like a whirlwind, turning the perfectly ordered world upside down in the best possible way. You taught me about resilience, about passion, and about the true meaning of success. You are more than I ever dreamed of, more than I ever deserved. Promise to love you, honor you, and support your dreams, always. This is your real product, Eli Heart, forever yours." As he slipped the wedding band onto Jimmy's finger, I knew this was it. This was a happily ever after. Not a fairy tale one, but a real one, built on honesty, hard work, forgiveness, and a love that was as pure and healing as the lip balms created. The reception was held at Alba Restaurante Español, a nod to where our business partnership and our love story truly began. The food was, of course, divine. There was laughter, dancing, and a lot of happy tears. Maya gave a short, sweet speech. Si Ate Ella po, dati, lagi siyang malungkot. Pero nung dumating si Kuya Jeff, lagi na siyang nakangiti. Thank you po, Kuya Jeff, for making DV8 happy. And thank you, 8, for never giving up on us. Invi's tough little sister was bawling beside the end, and I rushed to hug her, your own eyes overflowing. As the night drew to a close, Jeff and I found ourselves standing on the balcony of Alba, overlooking the glittering city lights. He wrapped his arms around me from behind. "Happy, dimres de villa," he whispered in the ear. I leaned back against him, my heart full. "More than happy, dimif de villa. I'm ligaya." He chuckled, kissing in a temple. "Me too." On our wedding favors, small elegant boxes containing a special edition, Ligaya Lips Balm in custom wedding bliss shade, we had teeny inscription engraved. It was something Jeff came up with, and it perfectly encapsulated our journey. From survival to love. Ligaya Lips. Because that's what our story was. Each journey from merely surviving, from fighting just to make it through another day, to finding a love that healed, a love that empowered, and a love that brought true, lasting happiness. And it all started with a humble lip balm, a mountain of utang, and a mysterious stranger who saw past the struggle and recognized the passion within. Ang negosyo ng puso namin, it was just beginning. Mahal kong mga mambabasa. Una sa lahat, mula sa kaibuturan ng aking puso, maraming salamat po sa inyong walang sawang pagsubaybay at pagmamahal sa kwento ni Ella at Jeffred sa lip balm at lihim. Bawat tapik ng aking daliri sa keyboard, bawat salitang nabuo, ay may kasamang pananabik na maibahagi sa inyo ang kanilang paglalakbay. Habang isinusulat ko ang nobelang ito, para akong naging kasama nila Ella at Jeffred sa bawat kabanata. Naramdaman ko ang kanilang takot sa gitna ng divisorya, ang kilig sa mga simpleng sulyap at ngiti, ang gulat sa mga revelasyon, ang galit sa pagkakamali, ang lungkot sa paghihiwalay, at higit sa lahat, ang kanilang pag-asa at ang wagas na pag-ibig na namuo sa kabila ng lahat. Nais kong makalikha ng isang kwentong hindi lang basta nakakakilig, kundi may puso, mailalim, at sumasalamin sa mga karanasang malapit sa ating lahat. Sa kwento ni Ella, sana ay nakita natin ang halaga ng katatagan at di pagsuko sa harap ng mga pagsubok. Nagaano man kahirap ang buhay, laging may paraan basta't may sipag, tiyaga, at pangarap na pinanghahawakan. Sa mga naging pagkakamali at muling pagbangon naman ni Jeff, naway maalala natin ang kahalagahan ng katapatan, pagpapatawad, at ang tapang na harapin ang ating mga pagkukulang para maitama ang mga ito. Higit sa lahat, ang lip balm at lihimpi ay isang paalala na ang tunay na pag-ibig ay hindi laging perpekto. Ito'y dumadaan sa mga hamon, nasusubok, ngunit sa huli, kung ito'y tunay, ito'y naghihilom, nagpapalakas, at nagbibigay inspirasyon. Na lahat tayo ay karapat-dapat sa pangalawang pagkakataon, para magmahal, magpatawad, at magsimula muli. At ang pinakamahalagang negosyo sa buhay na ito ay ang negosyo ng puso, ang pag-aalaga sa mga taong mahal natin at ang pag-abot sa ating mga pangarap ng may integridad at pagmamahal. Sana po ay nagustuhan ninyo ang kwento at may napulot kayong inspirasyon mula rito. Inaanyayahan ko kayong ibahagi ang kwentong ito sa inyong mga kaibigan at mahal sa buhay. At huwag po kayong mahiyang mag-iwan ng inyong mga komento at saloobin sa ibaba. Ano ang paborito ninyong eksena? Sinong karakter ang tumatak sa inyo? Anong aral ang baon ninyo mula sa kwento ni Ella at Jeffred? Mahalaga po sa akin ang bawat isa sa inyong mga mensahe. Muli, maraming salamat sa pagiging bahagi ng paglalakbay na ito. Hanggang sa susunod nating kwentuhan. Nagmamahal. Ang inyong manunulat.